So folks, interesting how a few hours can change everything, isn't it? Basically, I've just initiated, this is an email here, you sort of whited out on that screen, but basically all this is a, that's the one-time password, but this one here is the return of the Scotsman digital train set. It won't even be being unboxed today. I was basically watching through. There's a fantastic new chap that subscribed to me. Anth, I think it is, Anth Neil. Is the K silent or is it Knil? Do let me know. A channel I shall continue to watch with great interest. And as his layout develops and enjoy through him the wonderful scale of TT, which is a wonderful scale, just not for me. Obviously, as you may know, the Easterner set did fall over. And interesting, this is actually a third video I've recorded for TT today, which is kind of ironic because that's the old TT, wasn't it, for UK? It was 3mm, but yes, the other two, well, one was basically before Blink Bonnie arrived and everything. I was going to be like, oh, just, I'm giving myself a deadline of this many months, basically end of July, to see if there's any news of the teaks, because they're going to be needed from an Era 3 layout, and or if Locos pack in, basically wanted to give myself some sort of deadline, and was calling this the TT experiment. However, it's already fallen flat on its face. Yeah, so I was watching Ant's channel, and he's got the LNER brake van, the 20-ton towed brake van. And for those who aren't familiar, who may be new to railways, wagons back in the day were largely what were called unfitted. An unfitted wagon means that the brakes on it cannot be controlled from the locomotive. It is not equipped, it's not fitted with what's called continuous braking. So basically with those, you have an engine at the front that's got brakes that the driver can control, and so obviously when he puts the brake on, all those wagons, because we're loose coupled here, which means that the couplings, unlike American trains, say, or Japanese trains, where they come together and that's a rigid, there's a bit of slack in them, they can move like that, but they're pretty rigid. So when you put the brake on, it's going to push against that, but it won't. Whereas ours, the old buffered wagons, the loose coupled ones, the coupling is just literally a train between them, and they go into each other. And also that pushes, and hits the engine in the back, pushes that, and really doesn't help the braking procedure. If you're familiar with Thomas the Tank Engine, maybe you watched it as a child, or you still watch it, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're familiar with the bits where the engines will come to a stop, so say Duck comes to a stop, and then the wagons don't want to stop, and they say on, and push into Duck, that's basically what's being represented there, is the unfitted wagons banging into the engine and pushing it on, and it did cause accidents. And one of the ways they got around this, quite early on, they came up with a solution, which was a brake van. So you got a van at the back with the guard in it, and the guard then had a brake, a big handbrake type wheel, or usually a big wheel, or like a L shape on its side. You can put the brake on, and obviously he'd have to work in unison with the driver. Not always communication, not always smoothest, but the idea is that you sort of apply the brake in the van at a similar rate. You watch the train, how it's behaving, and you can bring it to a more controlled stop. When you come to a stop, the wagons are still clunk, 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 clunk into each other, and clunk, 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 clunk back. And if you go to a railway such as the Severn Valley Railway, if they're running their demonstration freight set, that is an unfitted set, you'll get to see all that in operation. So yes, so a brake van for an Era 3 layout is rather needed. Now there were brake vans that were also fitted as well, and they were used on, because there's obviously reasons having brake vans there, so when the train split, if the train was to split, you can bring the train to a stop. And some wagons were later fitted with a continuous brake, but a large proportion were not still, especially in Era 3, the 20s and 30s. The Era 3 does go up to the end of the Second World War, really up to the beginning of British Rail, but you know, the period I'm looking at, the pre-war era mostly, they were unfitted. For the majority, there was a scary amount still actually after the war as well, into the even into the 60s, I think there was actually quite a scary amount when we stop and think about just how many there were. They were being phased out as fast as possible though. So yeah, pretty important. And he just mentioned, looking at this wagon, he just mentioned that they're all out of stock now, and I thought, oh, okay. I knew I was, because I was playing Flight Sim, I was watching, and I thought, well, that's no worry, I'll finish up this flight. A Hawk, I reckon, if you're interested. Just did a quick display over Duxford, and I thought, yeah, okay, bring it in, and I'll go and have a look. And I've just scoured the web. If I went onto Google and showed you my screen up close, you'd see every link searching for the right product number for the LNER brake van is purple. To say that I've clicked it, I've looked at it. There isn't one available. eBay, nothing. So my ideas of having a freight train going in the opposite direction, because obviously without the Gresley Teaks, the standard LNER coaching stock, group standard LNER coach, I was going to need a freight train at least, so it wasn't just a Pullman service operated by different engines. I could have another engine on a freight train on the other line. Maybe occasionally the A1 would have done it. We'd also have got a Class 50 at some point. Well, I would have. I'm going to have to apologise to Rails now and cancel those. Big to pull the thing the other way, and eventually the J50s would have taken over that. I don't think it's good enough. The stock levels. I mean, I've been watching Peachy just now as well. Whilst I was looking for the wagons, because I sort of exhausted Ant's videos, so I was going back to some of the talks, and they were saying about the stock levels and about things constantly being out of stock. Ant also mentioned it. Found a Facebook group, and they were talking about the fact that they're like, the brake vans are like rocking horse poo to find. I'm thinking this isn't good. This isn't good. You can't keep absolutely everything in stock, but brake vans should be one of those things, because there are wagons being produced all the time. They're still producing new wagons. Brake vans should be one of those wagons being made. And I think this is actually where another manufacturer stepping in would have been really good. I mean, Pico, crying out loud, you've got the N-Gauge LNER brake van. It's a different style to the Hornby one. It was the one more traditionally, you know, the Hornby one was very much a box on wheels one type one, as the Pico one is, it's sort of got the cabin in the middle with the verandas, and you got the flat pieces there where the weights are. I think it's a big concrete slab each side, or big metal slab both sides. And you know, it's a more recognisable, again, if you told this stuff, it's a more recognisable brake van style. Apart from the Great Western Toad, it's probably one of the most recognisable styles of brake van, because British Rail made a very similar one, if not the same one, as their group standard, their standard brake van. So yeah, you know, that would have made a difference, and I wouldn't be having this conversation, but I just thought, this is silly. This is silly. A new scale, I should be able to go out and buy all the stuff that's been released. Locos, I accept. Not going to happen. But Yeah, it's just not. This isn't sensible. And this is something I failed to do. Is I should have done my research better yesterday. When I was decided to do the Theo 3 day out, I should have done my research better and looked into the brake van. But to be honest, I thought they'd just be available. It's one of those silly things you think. In fact, while I was doing my search for LNER brake vans, a more general one, where I took the word Hornby out, just to see if there were any 3D printed ones or anything like that, I was getting hits for the 001s left, right, centre, Bachmann, Hornby, the Dapod Engage one, so the Pico Engage one, yeah, all sorts, and those ones have been in production for years, some of them. And then obviously the new Rapido Great Central based one. So, yeah, not impressed, guys. Not impressed. Hornby. That's not a fantastic start. I mean, it's all very well if you were there at the beginning, but it's only 2 years. I am really shocked because that means you don't have a single brake van available. A single one, and you'll need it for the British Rail ones. You haven't even got the BR ones in stock anywhere that I could find, because that's one of my other thoughts. Of, again, BR1 painted bauxite or a dark grey, because both colours would suit the LNER depending on which era livery you went for. Get the transfers, but there's not even a BR1 available. So yeah, yes, that's fun. That's fun. So from here, I now decide what to do next. Sadly, it won't be TT. Though, I don't know whether they can send a recall thing to the driver to not deliver it, but if they do, then I'll accept it. Just not unpack it or anything like that. It stays in its box. And tomorrow UPS will come pick it up. Which is fortunate, because last time they came to pick up, they didn't tell, because they don't tell you when they're coming. So they didn't ring you just before they come. So it's like basically awoken quite early in the morning, and is there a parcel to go? Yes, but it said next working day, and I'd done it sort of around about midnight. So next working day to me would have been Thursday. Yeah. So fortunately, it'll be by the door ready to go. It just means I have to be up at a sensible time tomorrow again to make sure it goes out alright. But yeah, disappointment. Disappointment is the word. And I'll now go away and decide what to do, because I'm still very keen to do the same idea on the one hand, but I don't know, everything's up in the air again. So you'll probably see me again once I've made up my decision. But this was going to be some sort of joke about, oh, you know, people are going to see this and think, oh, I've changed my mind again. But no, I just wanted a railway t-shirt on today because it was going to be a great occasion. I was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to seeing the Pullmans with the lights on. I've never had Pullmans with lights on. Also, I've got a train with lights in, the Twilight Express down there. But hopefully the likes of James Hilton and others who, on the day I decided to do TT this time last week, I was actually going to pull the trigger and get the Easterner. James Hilton released the video saying we don't need TT, here's the British Engage. Well, I still don't agree with that. I still think TT's got a good place. If it was properly supported, it needs to be properly supported by the main manufacturer doing it. I think that's my issue there. You know, I should be able to get a brake van. And my other thing was about the teaks being available, you know, or some news of when the teaks were going to be available. Not my dog. I don't have a dog. When they're like to be available, was going to be the big clincher. Otherwise, or Loco's failing on me, was going to be the big clincher otherwise. But if they can't keep a brake van in stock, what chance have I got if I don't manage to, you know, if I'm not in a situation where I can buy enough teaks to make 2 complete rakes at least. What position am I going to be in further down the line? Then, you know, is it just going to be a case of, oh, wow, okay, you know, you've got 2 teaks, but, you know, that's it now. That's it. We're not doing those again, you know, anymore. Yeah, so it was nice. I still have faith in the scale. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful scale if I just wanted to build a train set. Even then, this is the big thing about the brake vans. Even then, I cannot run a legal train. It is actually not legal in railway by law for the railways to run an unfitted train without a brake van on the main line, which is what I'll be representing. So, yeah. Yeah, we're not going to get arrested for doing any model railway, but at the same point in time, it's just I'm trying to recreate the real thing a little bit, as much as I can anyway. Anyway, I'll leave you there. You've heard me enough. It's 16 minutes of me waffling. But yeah, so any suggestions? Leave them down below. Jake, I'll preempt you. It's not going to be 009. That's purely got to stay the War Department Light Railway. It would have been a good suggestion though. not to waltz it on you too much. But yeah, just it's not going to be 009. So I still have that liking to do something with the LNER now. But again, as always with the LNER, it's always hinged. This is why I've never redid it big time before. Is it always hinged on having the space to do a continuous run, so I could run the big expresses. Yeah, and big freight trains as well. But yep. Anyway, take care, stay safe, be well. Like I say, anyone who has subscribed to me because I was doing TT, please stay along if you feel that you enjoy the content. Otherwise, I will continue to follow your channels and comment, subscribe, and you know, all the rest of it, because I believe in the scale. I believe in the scale with the right support. And even now, I wouldn't say call this a full departure from DT. I'd maybe call it a what's the one? It's not goodbye, but maybe see you again. I don't know, something like that. Here's looking at you, kid. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah. I mean, literally, the only idea that comes to mind at the minute is to do something in here. I mean, Engage could be a possibility, but it means Dapol, and I don't have a great relationship with Dapol models. Yeah, or 00, where it'll have to be a branch line in here, and I'll have to hope that the space I get later on will be big enough to have a twin track mainline, Great Central style, convincingly enough. But yes, right. Be well, folks, and I'll see you again in the video. Bye for now.